So here's a Black Rose Dragon deck profile. Overall, great deck. This one's a lot fun to play. I really like this archetype. Always wanted to make a deck. Ruddy Rose has great artwork. Always liked that card. I haven't been able to climb too far in ranked with this deck. Now I play a Dark Worlds deck, which I will do a deck profile on pretty soon. At the end of the video, I have a few combos included of different strings and combos you can do using the cards in this deck. I spent about 1,000 gems to get 10 packs of this banner about twice. Got enough cards to get where I needed to go, and I just filled in the rest with other plant type cards. Let me know what you think about the deck, if there's any changes that you would make, or other plant support cards that would help make this better. Thanks for watching. First card, Spore, 1-star plant tuner. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish another plant monster to special summon this out, but increase its level by the level of the banished monster. You can only use this effects once per duel. Make a synchro play with this. There's a lot of 3-stars. If you can banish a 3-star, get this special on the field, it'd be a 4-star. If you already have a 3-star on the field, there's 7 stars right there. 2 Ruddy Rose Witch, 1-star plant tuner. You can tribute this card, and then you could bring a Witch of the Black Rose from your deck to your hand. And then if you do, you can special summon the Witch of the Black Rose to the field from your hand the same turn that you do that. If you take one level 3 or lower monster from your deck, you can place it at the top of your deck if you'd like. Witch of the Black Rose can come in handy. She's a tuner also, 4-star. She's in this deck. I'll get to her a little bit after. 1 Maxx C, just basic hand trap. Always comes in handy. If your opponent wants to flood the board with special summons one turn, throw this out in the beginning. Your hand would look a lot nicer. 2 Dark Rose Fairies, 800 attack, 1000 defense. If a tuner is special summon while this is in your hand, you can send one card from your hand or the field to the graveyard, then place it at top or bottom of your deck. You can only use that effect once per turn. That comes in handy with one of the field spells in this deck. 3 Lonefire Blossoms, 3-star, 500 attack, 1400 defense, plant monster. You can tribute one plant monster that's on the field, including itself, and then special summon a plant monster from your deck. Good for making plays. If there's a 3-star already on the board, tribute this, get a 4-star out. Comes in handy. 3 might be a little overkill, but that's what I run currently. 1 Rose Fairy, 3-star plant monster. The effect, I never find myself using that often, but if it's added from your deck to your hand by a card effect, you can special summon it out. Never find myself actually getting that effect off. Doesn't really come in handy, but it's a 3-star plant monster. You can use it for some things. 1 Predaplant Ophrys, Scorpio, tough to say, 3-star plant monster. If this card is normal or special summon, you could send one monster from your hand to the graveyard, then special summon another Predaplant monster from your deck. You can only use the effect once per turn. I do run another Predaplant card that could proc this effect, and that could be 6 stars on the board. And if you have a 1-star, which there are a few already, that's 7. Or if you have a 2-star, you can do one of the 5-star synchro summons. Not super useful, but it can get you a couple of monsters on the board. Next up, 2 Ash Blossoms. Just basic hand traps like Maxx C. They come in handy for any situation, really. This is in most of my decks. That should be in yours too. 2 Red Rose Dragons, 3-star, 1000 attack, 1800 defense, Dragon Tuner. If this is used as synchro material, you can special summon a rose monster from your hand or deck, except itself. If it was sent for the synchro summon of a Black Rose Dragon or plant synchro monster, you can add 1 Frozen Rose or Blooming of the Darkest Rose from your deck to your hand. I don't run Blooming of the Darkest Rose in this deck, but I do run Frozen Rose. And most likely you will use this for synchro material because it's Dragon, 3-star, and a tuner. So you can get this effect off easily. Next you have 2 Rose Princesses, 3-star, 1200 attack, 800 defense, plant monster. If your opponent controls a monster, you can special this from your hand. If it is special that way, you can treat it as a tuner monster. You can only use the effect once per turn. Also, you can discard this from your hand and then add the field spell White Rose Cloister from your deck to your hand. Depends on what your hand looks like or your board looks like. different ways to get this effect off, but if you have other cards in your hand, you could proc the specialing effect to get it on the field and still have a normal. That's a synchro play right there, depending on how many stars the normal card is. Next, one Rose Fairy. This card's great. 3-star, 800 attack, 600 defense, plant tuner. If you have a plant monster on the field and this is in the graveyard, basically you can just add this back to your hand. Sometimes I run this at 2. Right now it's at 1. It's a great card, goes good with this. You can just loop a lot of combos from this card that involve discarding or tributing a monster. This just recycles back into your hand. If a plant monster you control is sent to the graveyard, you can special this card from your hand also. That effect comes in handy. Next we have 3 Rox Rose Dragons. 3-star, 1600 attack, 1200 defense, dragon tuner. If this is normal or special summon, you can add one card that has Black Rose Dragon in the text from your deck to your hand. When this card is in your graveyard, if a face-up Rose Dragon monster or plant synchro you control is destroyed by battle or opponent's card effect, you can add this card to your hand. You'll use the effect once per turn. I do find this effect going off a lot for the normal or special summon. Then you could just add a card that is of relation to your hand, maybe a 4-star, maybe another plant rose monster. There's a lot of things you can do with this. It will become synchro material because it is a tuner. Next we have one Witch of the Black Rose, spellcaster tuner. Cannot be special summoned. If it's normal summoned and you control no other cards, you can draw one card, show it. If it's not a monster, send it to the graveyard and also destroy this card. Good numbers, but you never want to send this out with an empty board because that effect can come back to bite you in the butt if it isn't a monster card that you draw. You're mostly going to summon this out using the effect of Ruddy Rose Witch. If you have a 3-star on the board, after you get this on the field, you can make a 7-star synchro play that way. Next we have one Blue Rose Dragon. It's a 4-star dragon monster, 1600 attack, 1200 defense. If this card is on the field, is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Black Rose Dragon or one plant monster in your graveyard, special summon that monster. You can just set this a lot of times, bait your opponent into attack while you have something useful in the graveyard, including, I think, any of the Black Rose Dragons, and get them special summoned onto the field. Also, if you use this as synchro material, you can proc this effect, I've found. Very useful card. Next we have one World Carrotweight Champion, 4-star, 1900 attack, 0 defense, plant monster. If this card's in your graveyard and you have a face-up plant monster on the field or in your hand, you could send it to the graveyard to special summon this card out. So you can proc Spore's effect like this. You can use Rose Fairy's effect for this and get her back in your hand after you get that effect. Good numbers for a 4-star with no negative aspect to it. You can just normal it a lot of times and it could stay on the board, do some damage. It's a 4-star plant, so you can use it for synchro plays if you have another tuner, depending on what you need on the field. Good card, as long as it's in your graveyard and you have a plant card on the field in your hand, you can have a special summon. Next we have 3 White Rose Dragons, 4-star dragon monster. When this card is normal summon, you can special summon one Rose Dragon monster from your hand or the graveyard. That comes in handy. You can make a synchro play if you have a 3-star in the graveyard and it's special as a 3-star. That's 7 stars right there. It has 2 optional effects that you can use once per turn. If there's a tuner that's a plant or dragon tuner on the field, you can just special this from your hand. That could start a play for a synchro card. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can send one level 4 or higher plant monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can use that to send Carrotweight to the graveyard, use its effect. You can start something like that. Very useful card. Goes with the deck really well. One Monster Reborn. This always comes in handy. When does it not? One Foolish Burial. You could just send something like Carrotweight or Spore to get its effect off. If you want Rose Fairy in your hand, send her. I never find myself using that part of it. Some other kind of Rose Dragon monster in conjunction with the White Rose Dragon to get its effect, to special something from the graveyard. Just depends on what kind of play you need to make and what's in your hand, what's on the field, what your opponent's doing. There are some field spells in this deck, so Terraforming does come in handy. You can just add those to your hand. Not necessary, but it helps. After that we have one 1-for-1. Send one monster from your hand to the graveyard, special summon a level 1 monster from your hand or deck. There's a couple of 1-stars in this deck, so depending on what effect you need to get off, if you need a 4-star, you can special summon Ruddy Rose Witch to get her effect for Witch of the Black Rose, who's a 4-star. You can put Spore on the board, and then use Carrotweight Champion's effect. Next we have one Black Garden field spell. I just run one of these. If a monster is normal or special summoned face up except by the effect of Black Garden, half its attack. Then the attacker of that monster special summons one rose token to their opponent's field and attack position. This attack loss remains even if this card leaves the field. You can target one monster in your graveyard with attack equal to the total attack of all plant monsters on the field. Destroy this card and as many plant monsters on the field as possible. Then, if you destroy all of them, special summon that targeted monster. Put this on the board after maybe I get a Black Rose Dragon on the field, because its numbers wouldn't change, but anything summoned after that would get reduced. So a 2400 isn't that scary, but if a Blue Eyes is put on the board after a 24 is already there, or the 32 from the Ruddy Rose, then you could turn a 3000 into a 1500, or a 28 to a 14. Whatever the numbers are, they get halved. But this also affects you too after it's been activated. Something to keep in mind when summoning. It's really easy to get the rose tokens added up and get the special summon of a targeted monster. You can have 3 tokens on the board. If Black Rose is in the graveyard, that's a Black Rose special summon. Although you won't be able to use its Synchro summoning effect once it is brought onto the field. And then we have 3 other field spells. White Rose Cloister. If you control no monsters, you can special summon one Rose Dragon monster or plant monster from your hand. You can only use the effect White Rose Cloister once per turn. During your draw phase, before you draw, you can declare one card type, monster, spell, or trap. Reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is the declared card type, apply this effect for the rest of this turn, even if this card leaves the field. Level 7 or higher Synchro monsters you control gain 1000 attack. If you have maybe White Rose Dragon, Red Rose Dragon, or a Rox Rose Dragon in your hand, you can choose to special out one of those cards and then still have a normal for any of the other cards. Then you can have a Synchro 7-star play done that way. There's a lot of monsters in this X. The secondary effect, about 1000 attack and defense for Synchro summon monsters. More often than not, if you guess monster, because there are more monsters in this deck than anything else, you'll get the 1000. But some of the other effects that we talked about could proc this way if you choose to put them on the top of your deck. So you can set this up too, and there is support for setting it up in this deck. Overall good field spell for the special summon once per turn if you have no monsters. It makes it a lot easier to get plays off and to get monsters on your side of the board. One called by the grave, another somewhat necessary hand trap in Yu-Gi-Oh! You just gotta know when to use it. Next we have one Frozen Rose quick play spell. You can send one monster you control to the graveyard. Depending on what type it is, then you can have 2 different effects. If it's a plant, during the end phase of this turn you can draw 2 cards and then discard 1. Cool effect, sometimes I forget that. You get the 2 cards at the end of your turn and not as soon as this card is activated. If it's a plant monster that you tributed, then you can add one level 4 or lower plant monster from your deck to your hand. Don't find myself going into this a lot, but it's there for options. The last 3 spell cards in the main deck are Basal Rose Shoot. This card can start a lot of plays. Special summon one Rose Dragon monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. If Black Rose or anything else is in the graveyard, you can just special that out in defense. Or if you just need one card to get a Synchro play off, don't be shy to use this, depending on how many levels you need and what you're going for. If this is set and it's destroyed, then you can target a Black Rose Dragon that's banished or in your graveyard and special summon it. If your opponent's going after a lot of your back row, you can bait this out by setting it. If they get rid of it, you get to special summon a Black Rose Dragon. And then for our extra deck, we have Garden Rose Maiden. 5-star, 1600 attack, 2400 defense, plant Synchro. 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner monster to bring this out. If this card is special summon, you can add 1 Black Garden from your deck or graveyard to your hand. We do have a Black Garden in the deck, just 1. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Rose Dragon monster or 1 Dragon Synchro monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use the effect once per turn. If you have a Rose Dragon or a Dragon Synchro in the graveyard, you can use this effect to get them back out on the field. Get Black Garden in your hand. Most of the Synchro plays you're going to want to go for are 7-star plays, but if you have a 3 and a 2, you can get one going with this. Next we have 2 copies of Garden Rose Flora. Plant Synchro Tuner. 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner monster to summon. You can target 1 card in the field zone, destroy it, then special summon to its controller's field 1 Rose token in attack position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Synchro monsters. You can only use the effect of Garden Rose Flora once per turn. Once per chain. During your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect. Immediately after this effect resolves, Synchro summon using this card you control. Another one for options. If they have a pesky field zone spell, you can use this to get rid of it. Get some Rose tokens on the field. If you have Black Garden already on the field. We have our first Black Rose Dragon. Deck was really built around this card. I like this archetype a lot. Try to do my own spin on it. 7-star, 2400 attack, 1800 defense, Dragon Synchro. Takes a tuner and non-tuner monster to summon. When this card is Synchro summoned, you can destroy all cards on the field. So you can just clear the board with this card, but this also clears your side of the board, also including itself. Also, once per turn, you can banish 1 plant monster from your graveyard, then target a defense position monster your opponent controls. Then it changes it to attack position, but its attack becomes 0 until the end of this turn. So you can get a free direct attack and 1 monster off the board this way, but it does target, so you got to make sure that you know the legalities of what you're doing, and they don't have target protection. Another Black Rose Dragon monster we have is Black Rose Moonlight. Same numbers as Black Rose Dragon. The Dragon Synchro effect monster. 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner to get out. If this card is special summon or a level 5 or higher monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, target 1 special summon monster your opponent controls. Return that target to the hand. If they have a link monster on the field or any kind of extra deck monster, you could send it back to their hand, but it goes back to the extra deck. Any pesky monster that they use a lot of resources on to summon, you can use this effect, if it was special summon on the field, to add it back to their hand, and that can disrupt a lot of plays. Even all the resources that they wasted to get this big monster on the field, that can hurt them a lot more than just putting something in the graveyard. Very useful card. Then we have 1 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, 8-star, 3000 attack, 2500 defense, Dragon Synchro, 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner to summon. Once per turn when another monster's effect is activated, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that monster. And if you do that, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack during the end of this turn. If this card battles an opponent's level 5 or higher monster during damage calculation, this card gains attack equal to the current attack of the opponent's monster it is battling during that damage calculation only. It's a Dragon Synchro. It's not hard to get this out on the field, but you have to try and get this out on the field. But you could be in a position to where it's easy to get this out, depending on what's in your hand and what's already on the board. Kind of generic of an effect, so it goes with this deck really well because there are tuners and non-tuners and synchro monsters. We have our last Black Rose Dragon, which is the Ruddy Rose Dragon. It's a 10-star, 3200 attack, 2400 defense, Dragon Synchro monster. Takes 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner monster to summon. If it's Synchro summon, you can banish all cards from both graveyards, yours and your opponent's. If it's Synchro summon using Black Rose Dragon or Plant Synchro monster as material, you can destroy all other cards on the field. So like Black Rose Dragon's effect, except it destroys everything except itself. So it's like a better version of that card really. When your opponent activates a card or effect that would destroy a card or cards, there's a quick effect that you can tribute this card, negate the activation, and then you can special summon 1 Black Rose Dragon from your extra deck or graveyard. So if you have something in the graveyard, or the other 2 Black Dragons are already in the graveyard, you could bring 1 back into the field. If you have them both in the extra deck, you can bring them out that way. So you can get rid of this card, negate a big play on their part, and still have something beefy on the board using this effect. Really like this card. I try to go into this card a lot, especially if there's something in the graveyard that I can special out as protection to get that quick effect off. You just feel safe with the effect. Then we have 2 Link monsters. One of them is Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres, 0 attack. 2 Dragon monsters. Once per opponent's turn, if this card is in the extra monster zone, quick effect, you can tribute 1 monster from your hand or field, return 1 face-up card on the field to the hand. If this card is tributed, special summon 1 Dragon monster from your hand or deck and make its attack and defense 0. You can only use this effect once per turn. Never know when you want to use this, but I do find myself going on to it a lot of times, especially with a lot of of dragon cards in the deck. Then we have the Crossrose Dragon, which is the kind of Rose Dragon archetype link monster. You just need 2 monsters with different types to summon because it's a 2-link. During the main phase, quick effect, you can tribute this card and 1 plant monster. Special summon 1 Rose Synchro monster or Plant Synchro monster from your extra deck. It's treated as a Synchro summon. If a monster you control is destroyed by card effect while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can banish this card, special summon 1 Rose Dragon monster from your graveyard. You can only use the effect once per turn. If you have 3 cards on the board and one of them is a plant, you can make a 2-link for this. Use its effect, tribute this and a plant monster, then you can get a Rose Dragon of your choosing onto the field. I love this effect, very useful. Find myself using it a lot. This is a great link monster for this deck. Our first play that we're going to showcase is pretty simple, pretty basic. You can get into it pretty easily. You can use it with multiple different cards. We have Maxx C, a Predaplant card, Rose Girl, White Rose Dragon, and Foolish Burial in your hand. You can normal out Rose Girl first, and then special summon the White Rose Dragon because of its secondary effect, where if a tuner monster is on the field, then you can special summon it out. That's 7 stars already on the field. You can get a Synchro play easily that way. And for the second combo, I draw a Rose Girl. During my draw phase, I had a 4-star on the field and a Lava Golem that my opponent gave me. So I normal summon out the Rose Girl. I do a link play for the Crossrose Dragon using the 4-star and the Lava Golem as material. As soon as that gets on the field, I use its effect where I can tribute itself and another plant monster to special summon an extra deck monster. So I bring out Ruddy Rose, and that's a play right there. 10-star, 3200 attack. And for the third clip, I have a Carrotweight in the graveyard, so I use the effect to send a plant monster from my hand or field to the graveyard to special him out. That card is Spore, which while it's in the graveyard, I can use its effect to banish another card in the graveyard to special it out and raise its level by the level of that card. And I still haven't did a normal summon this whole turn, so I use Predaplant Ophrys Scorpio to proc its effect to special summon a Predaplant card, and that's 10 stars on the board, so I'll use these 3 as material for a Ruddy Rose Dragon. And that's the deck profile for the Black Rose Dragon deck that I have and I use on Master Duel. I just always like this archetype, and the Black Rose Dragon line of cards are really cool. A lot of the support works really well, and it makes for a fun deck. Like I had mentioned in the intro, it could be hard to climb and competitive. Hope many of you guys found this helpful. Next deck profile I'll probably make a video on will be Dark Worlds. Thank you. Have a good day.